shooting controversy tonight. A rally to support the former officer.
Okay, everybody, this is Rebel Frack, and I finally decided to offer a commentary on some of the news footage that I've actually been offering. And this is about the rally that took place up here in Walnut Creek. Walnut Creek is north of Oakland, and in comparison to Oakland, Walnut Creek is a middle-class, white, suburban area. And the majority of the people there are rallying in support for Johannes Mehserle. And as you can see, there are signs that some of them say, like, there's one right there, Justice for Johannes, and I support the Thin Blue Line. And I thought I saw one that said something like Mercy for Mehserle or something like that. And the reason I decided to comment was that two things came up for me. One of them was this whole thing, you know, what more justice could they want? This officer got to... Basically, he killed someone under the color of authority. This Hebrew, or so-called African American male, was face down, handcuffed, and he stood over him and he shot him at point-blank range. Now, he literally was tried before a jury of his peers, meaning the majority of the people on the jury panel were white. At least two, maybe three, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of them were admitted that they were police friendly, meaning that they had friends or family who were police officers. So he literally got tried before a jury of his peers. First-degree murder charge was not an option. That was immediately, stricken from any possibility of a verdict. So no death penalty charge, no life imprisonment charge. He got involuntary manslaughter, and the minimum, the least amount of time served could be a few months with probation. The most would be, I think, like 4, maybe 5 years, but with the gun conviction, it might add, I think, maybe 5 more years. So he will be looking at jail time, but not as much as if it were manslaughter or, like first-degree murder, So that was one of the things that came up for me, was what more justice do they want? And then the second thing that came up for me was the fellow that was speaking before this woman right now. I know 1 or 2 before her, the fellow who was saying that he thought that basically what he said that he felt sorry for Johannes Mehserle, that he thought he was being, this fellow right here. He says that he thinks that Mehserle is basically an experimental scapegoat for something that has been brewing for a while. And I thought about that, and I thought, he's right, because this has been occurring so often, where these police officers are literally shooting and killing, Hebrew or, so-called African and Latino men under the color of authority. I mean, where they're pumping 14 to 34 slugs in these guys. I mean, the other fellow that was killed on New Year's Day, that same New Year's Day in New Orleans, was shot like 14 times in the back. And then of course there was like Oscar Grant, and then there's Diallo in New York, 30, 40 bullets. So you knew that sooner or later it was going to happen, where someone was going to see it. I mean, where it was going to be witnessed. This one was witnessed by millions, okay? And so it's going to set a precedent. But it was something that was bound to happen. So now I can see it now, where it's going to be, what do we do when we get caught? What do we do when our officers of the court actually get caught? Do we do we literally throw them to the wolves? Do we give them, a lesser charge? And my understanding is that this one, because he was, the verdict was involuntary manslaughter. My understanding is that he is actually, that this case might actually be taken to a federal level or a civil right. It might be moved to another court, to a higher court, is what I heard, because of the outrage over it. I posted some of the clips from one of the more, mainstream news commentaries from Rachel Maddow, and I believe maybe CNN has, covered some of it. But I mean, it was watched pretty closely, and a lot of people were outraged when they saw that. I mean, if any of you can remember some of the responses within the first month or so after the shooting took place, just and it crossed racial lines. Just the outrage. I watched video responses from older white men, younger white men, Latinos, a lot of people were horrified by what they saw. And so the fact that he got involuntary manslaughter and might serve maybe 4 years, maybe, and with a gun conviction, a few more years might be added on to that. So that guy was right. This is experimental. How do we deal with this? Because now with with video cameras. I mean, you got them on your phones now. Video cameras are all over the place. You're gonna get caught now. So what do? You know, you can't pretend anymore. Okay, you can't pretend anymore. So yeah, that's the reason I finally decided to offer, a commentary. Are those two things? One, these people who are sitting up here crying justice when this guy got. Wow. I mean, wow. What more do you want? You know, going into it, you're not going to be charged with first-degree murder, so you're not going to no worry about the death penalty, no worry about life imprisonment, and the majority of the people on the panel they're from your race. And a good percentage of those are friendly towards cops. Wow. What more? What more justice could you want? You know. So, anyways, that's my commentary. Please, offer some, comments. Let me know what you think. And, okay. This is Rebel Frack.
I think he's an experimental scapegoat for a situation that's been festering in law enforcement for a long time ago.
And while a Contra Costa Sheriff's SWAT team stood by, the sparring between the two groups never moved from verbal to physical.